6 people are dead and 3 more injured after a shooting spree that spanned from San Antonio to Austin.
Tonight, the suspect accused of those murders and shootings, Shane James Jr., is in custody in Austin, facing capital murder charges.
Thank you so much for joining us for KVUE News at 6. I'm Quita Culpepper.
And I'm Brian Mays. Just a few hours ago, we learned the names of the 2 victims in Bexar County. Shane James Jr. is accused of killing his parents, Phyllis James and Shane James Sr.
The Bexar County Sheriff believes James Jr. then drove to Austin yesterday, and investigators say continued to shoot innocent victims.
Our intention at this point is to eventually, and I'm talking about here in the next day, maybe the next day or two, charge this suspect here in Bexar County with either murder or capital murder.
Authorities continue to piece together a complete timeline of the shooting spree across both San Antonio and in Austin, and are asking the public if anyone may have seen this car that's on your screen right now. If you have, call the Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
We have team coverage tonight. KVUE's Isabella Basco has been speaking with neighbors in Southwest Austin today. But let's start with senior reporter Tony Plahetsky, who joins us live from Shadywood Drive in South Austin, where 2 people were killed yesterday. Tony? Thanks for being with us for KVUE News at 6 on this Saturday night. We're following breaking news as we come on the air tonight. This afternoon, a new massive data release from the city of Uvalde related to the 2022 Robb Elementary School mass shooting. After a years-long court battle with Texas news outlets that included KVUE and our sister stations, the city released video, audio, and other documents tied to the shooting more than 2 years ago. 19 children and 2 teachers were killed on that day in May of 2022. Now, we do want to warn you, some of the audio you're about to hear can be difficult to listen to. KVUE senior reporter Tony Plahetsky joins us now here at the desk to walk us through some of that information that came out today. Difficult to hear and read some of these documents.
Brian, to say the least, we already knew there were widespread failures in the police response to what happened on that tragic day in May of 2022, but we haven't seen or heard it quite like this.
Now, this data release comes 6 weeks after Uvalde grand jury, as Tony just mentioned, handed down indictments against 2 Uvalde CISD police officers who responded to the school that day back in May of 2022. Former Uvalde CISD police chief Pete Arredondo and former CISD officer Adrian Gonzalez have both pleaded not guilty to child endangerment charges. They were accused of failing to stop the gunman that day. No more criminal charges are now expected in this case. We're posting more information about what we're learning from this data release online. You can find the latest right now at our website, that is KVUE.com.
We know that President Biden has already endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to take his spot in the race and run for president. What do we know about how that process might work, and what are the chances that someone will challenge Harris?
Well, so there are a couple ways the Democratic Party can do this. The easiest is to go forward with a virtual vote that they had already planned for the first week of August, that instead of essentially ratifying Biden as the nominee, that vote would ratify Harris as the nominee.
What were the main takeaways, and how did Texans feel about Kamala Harris?
Well, our survey showed there that support for Kamala Harris is a little lower than support for Joe Biden. It's not a lot, but there's a segment of the Texas population that likes Joe Biden but doesn't like Kamala Harris. So if anything, it's probably going to be a little tougher for Kamala Harris to run against Donald Trump, at least here in Texas. I don't think anyone was thinking that Biden was going to beat Trump in Texas. It was just a matter of how badly he was going to lose, whether by 4 or 5 or 6 points like last time, or something approaching more 9 or 10 points.
Yeah, the country is definitely anticipating to see how all of this will shake out. Mark Jones with Rice University, thank you so much for joining us.
Breaking news as we come to air tonight. Hays County now has a suspect in custody in connection to that SWAT situation we've been following. A person had barricaded themselves inside their home on Terrace Canyon Drive. This is just off 290 east of Dripping Springs. That's where we find KVUE's Kelsey Sanchez. Kelsey, you actually just spoke with the lieutenant of the Hays County Sheriff's Office, right?
That's right, Ford. We did talk to him just about 10 minutes ago.
For 2 straight days this week, power outages have left thousands of Austinites without air conditioning during 2 of the hottest days of the summer.
Last night, more than about 6,500 customers were left without power in Southwest Austin. And this comes after a separate power outage left 15,000 East Austinites without power Wednesday night on what was the hottest day of the year.
KVUE's Matt Fernandez joins us live from the newsroom. Matt, Austin energy officials continuing to warn of more possible outages. They're asking customers to conserve when they can.
Brian, they are the most recent South Austin case there.
And happening right now, firefighters continue to battle a growing wildfire in Mason County. That's about 120 miles northwest of Austin. The North Art Complex fire has now grown to be about 4,000 acres large and is 40% contained. This fire is a result of multiple smaller fires that merged together. And those smaller fires were started by lightning overnight. KVUE's Jessica Cha is out in Mason County and has more on this fire.
I've been out here since this morning, but local fire departments, landowners, state agencies like Texas A&M.
Today, the man accused of killing 6 people, including his own parents, in a shooting spree in San Antonio and Austin, made his first court appearance in Travis County. This is the first time we've seen Shane James Jr. since he was arrested over 8 months ago. In court today, he asked the judge if he could represent himself. Now, this request comes after disagreements between himself and his attorneys. They asked James, his attorneys, to take a mental evaluation, and he does not want to do that. Judge Clifford Brown told James that he would have to take one if he wants to represent himself. Now, James's attorney said it's a terrible idea for anyone to represent themselves, but he understands James' request.
This guy is in a terrible place. He's in jail. He's charged with terrible crimes. Is it disappointing to me? No, it's not disappointing. It's understandable. You know, the guy's in a terrible spot and he's trying to do what he can to control his situation.
Right now, James is facing 7 charges in Travis County, including 4 capital murder charges for his December shooting spree. His next hearing is set for October the 10th.
And as we come on the air tonight, President Joe Biden is wrapping up his visit to Austin. He left the LBJ Library about 15 minutes ago, making his way to the airport before he heads to Houston.
Air Force One touched down at the Austin airport around 3 o'clock this afternoon. The president was greeted there by local and state officials, including Austin Mayor Kirk Watson and Congressman Lloyd Doggett.
Today, the president spoke at the LBJ Presidential Library to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. It's one of the first times we've seen the president outside of the White House for a major event since he dropped his re-election bid last week.
In his speech there this afternoon, the president laid out 3 proposed reforms to the United States Supreme Court. KVUE's Adam Bennett joins us live from outside the LBJ Library to explain those proposals. Adam?
Brian and Quita, the president spoke for about 20 minutes this afternoon.
Adam, thank you very much for that report. As President Biden leaves Austin, we did see a small group of demonstrators gather just off the interstate near downtown Austin. You can see APD still has roads blocked off there for his motorcade to pass through this afternoon.
And while Austin is no stranger to presidential visits, it's been quite a while since a sitting president has visited the city. In fact, it's been more than 4 years. It was in January 2020 when then President Donald Trump was in Austin for the American Farm Bureau Federation's convention. The former president had been in Austin a few months prior, touring Apple's manufacturing facility.
For the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act 10 years ago, 4 presidents were in attendance. Then President Barack Obama was joined by former presidents Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Jimmy Carter. President Obama then visited Austin again a few months later to give an economic speech at the Paramount Theater.
It was another day of people using their voice to protest here in Austin. This comes after the last 2 pro-Palestine rallies at UT led to more than 100 people being arrested. KVUE's Milia Masamoto was out at both the Israeli-American Council's rally at the Texas State Capitol and the pro-Palestine group's rally at the University of Texas, Austin this afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for KVUE News at 5 on this Super Tuesday. I'm Brian Mays.
And I'm Ashley Goodo. The primary elections are today. Polls are open until 7 p.m. as voters determine who will represent their parties in the November general election.
Tonight we have team coverage, crews all across the state of Texas. KVUE's Darren Shaharan and Ford Sanders are both following the race for U.S. Senate on the Democratic side.
And Kelsey Sanchez is following the biggest race in Travis County. Who will be the Democratic nominee for Travis County District Attorney?
After serving one term in office, Travis County DA Jose Garza drew a primary challenger on the Democratic side from former prosecutor Jeremy Celestine. Tonight's winner will face Republican Daniel Betts in the November election.
And Kelsey is live at a polling location in North Austin with more on this big race. Kelsey.
Ashley, Brian, all eyes are on
the biggest race on the ballot is the Democratic race for the U.S. Senate. U.S. Congressman Colin Allred and State Senator Roland Gutierrez headline a crowded field of 9.
Now, to win tonight, a candidate can't simply get the most votes. They'll need more than 50% to avoid a runoff, and that would be in May. The winner will face off against Republican incumbent U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, most likely, who is expected to easily win his party's nomination tonight.
KVUE's Darren Shaharan is following Allred tonight. She joins us live from Dallas. Darren.
Ashley, Brian, U.S. Congressman Colin Allred's watch party is expected to kick off here in Dallas at 7 o'clock. My colleague, Ford Sanders, who is live in San Antonio, and he's expected to be at Roland Gutierrez's election watch party tonight. Hi, Ford.
Hey, Darrenisha, Gutierrez is making it a point to meet with voters today. He hit 3 different polling locations this Super Tuesday. Now,
Turning our attention to the weather. This is what it looked like downtown overnight as storms moved in across Austin. You can see there was some lightning. There we go, lightning going on last night. And this is what it looks like right now in downtown Austin. It's still a little gloomy out there, very cloudy. We've been having some rain come and go today. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist.
Tonight, the former Uvalde School District police officer charged for his response to the Robb Elementary School shooting is now out of jail on bond. Former officer Adrian Gonzalez turned himself in this afternoon. A grand jury indicted Gonzalez and the school district's former police chief, Pete Arredondo, for their roles in the response to the deadly school shooting more than 2 years ago. KVUE's Ford Sanders is live in Uvalde. Ford, we got Gonzalez's indictment into the newsroom just about an hour ago. Tell us what he is accused of doing.
Ashley, Gonzalez has been formally charged with 29 counts of abandoning and...
Former Chief Arredondo is charged with 10 counts of endangering or abandoning a child, one for each of the children who survived the attack. The affidavit accuses him of failing to identify the incident as an active shooter while a gunman was shooting children. He's also accused of wrongly directing police to evacuate a wing of Robb Elementary School, leading to a delayed response and instead attempting to negotiate with the shooter. The affidavit says he failed to establish a command center, so law enforcement officers didn't have clear information. He's also accused of failing to immediately develop an action plan. Now, Arredondo turned himself in yesterday and was released on bond last night. He is facing up to 2 years in prison and a $10,000 fine.
Yes, Hunter, thank you. The city of Austin and surrounding suburbs continue to grow. Of course, more people means more traffic.
And a new report from the Central Texas Regional Mobility Authority shows travel times on MOPAC are expected to get longer over the next 2 decades. Let's take a live look at MOPAC south of downtown. The CTRMA staff is considering adding express lanes to deal with more congestion. Those lanes are where we find KVUE's Matt Fernandez, who's traveling down South MOPAC in the passenger seat. We want to add, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, Ashley, yeah, we are in South Austin right now, and this is a look at the traffic right now in South Austin near East Cesar Chavez and Slaughter. This is where the CTRMA is focused on its study, looking at ways.
Today, officials with the utility company CenterPoint continue apologizing for the company's response to Hurricane Beryl. CenterPoint CEO Jason Wells once again appeared in front of state lawmakers, this time testifying to the Texas House Committee on State Affairs. Beryl left hundreds of thousands of people in the Houston area without electricity for days. As lawmakers push for answers, Wells told them the biggest challenge in restoring power were trees that the utility company didn't have permission to trim before the storm.
But the real issue here was trees primarily outside of our right-of-way, full trees coming in contact with the power lines, pulling those power lines down, that vegetation crews had to take hours to clear.
Wells told members CenterPoint will be overhauling communications and will have daily public briefings after a disaster. He also promised that CenterPoint's new cloud-based outage tracker will be up by tomorrow. The current tracker that estimates power restoration time has been down since May.
Still to come, how the city of Taylor's new flood plan aims to protect a neighborhood with a history of flooding.
And fall camp officially underway for the Longhorns as they took the field for their first practice of the season. Jeff Jones will join us live later in sports.